Welcome back. Arizona's expansion of private school vouchers, allowing any parent, regardless of their income level, to use taxpayer dollars for religious and homeschooling, has no doubt benefited many families. Enrollment of ESAs is now more than 83,000 statewide. But it is impossible to ignore the impact ESAs are having on public school districts. Just Thursday night, the latest district to announce they are closing and consolidating schools was Roosevelt Elementary School District. The board voted to close 5 campuses next year to make up for an expected $5 million deficit as enrollment shrinks. This week, I spoke with a longtime educator and researcher in our state about limited funding and declining enrollment in the pursuit of choice.
This is the zip code the kids came out of.
Curt Cardine has seen it all. He's been a superintendent and teacher in district, charter, and private schools. The author of 3 books about the school choice movement, Cardine tracks data on where Arizona kids are attending. How are ESAs impacting school districts like Roosevelt?
They've lost a lot of kids to ESAs and STOs, which are tax credits. In Roosevelt, most of them were in the public school system. It's a huge amount of kids that come out of the Roosevelt district, but only 43% actually attend school in the Roosevelt district.
A lot of people will look at Roosevelt and say, well, this is a sign that public schools aren't doing their job.
Well, that's not true. I'll use Roosevelt, for example. Most of their schools right now are Bs. And overall, as a district, they're B. Right now, we know districts and charters perform almost exactly alike. In fact, the districts have more percentage-wise A and B schools.
Cardine's data shows 2,200 kids in the Roosevelt district are using ESAs or tax credits to attend private or homeschool. 8 of the 9 private schools in the district's boundaries are religious.
And you can't compete if your parents saying, I want you, and I keep using Catholic because I'm Catholic, I want you to go to Catholic school. Roosevelt can't compete with that.
A map of the Roosevelt district shows a crowded field. Private schools are in green, charter schools in red, district schools in blue. In all, families in these boundaries have more than 30 options other than their neighborhood district schools to choose from. Many lawmakers and voters applaud those choices that are available, but it comes at a steep price. Per pupil spending for district schools is at the bottom nationally. Superintendent Tom Horn recently acknowledged districts are underfunded and said the ESA program needs more administrators to run it. So here we have the state. It now has 3 separate education systems that it is supporting. Have we spread ourselves too thin?
Yes, we're letting money go where it really shouldn't be going. We shouldn't be subsidizing somebody who can afford to pay.
Cardine would like to see universal ESAs limited to lower-income families.
It's too expansive. It's treating our state taxes as entitlements.
And he'd like to see a new commitment from voters and lawmakers to demand better funding for school districts.
You own your public schools. You as a taxpayer, I'll quote the Beach Boys on this, be true to your school.
The problem is the local school has high turnover. They can't keep enough teachers. And you got parents, they start seeing issues and they think, well, I'm going to go look for another school or maybe a charter, or now, okay, maybe I'll look at that private school with the ESA I can get. Yeah. And then what happens to the school that's still trying to keep up with salaries?
They've got less money to do it, so they have to cut staff.
If there's no way to curb the growth of ESAs, what are you most concerned about as it relates to the ability of school districts to maintain the quality of education they have now?
Well, they're already charging for things that they didn't charge for, as sports, clubs, etc. And that's pathetic.
So they're going to ask more from parents. Right. What about just the structure? Because we know some schools just are closing.
Yes.
Do you foresee that happening more throughout the state?
Yes, the data's showing there's a lot more that have lost children than that have gained students.
Another reason school districts are closing schools, declining birth rates. Scottsdale Unified, Paradise Valley, and Glendale Elementary districts have closed schools in recent years. That's our show for this week. Thanks so much for joining us, and we want to thank our guests as well. We'll see you back here next weekend for another round of Sunday Square Off.